Want to know some simple Christmas traditions for family laughs and happy tears? There are good happy tears. I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach parenting and good communication all over the world through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, we're talking about Christmas traditions. So I love Christmas. I love flannel shirts. I love red and green, especially green, one of my favorite colors. And I love everything about the magic that comes with Christmas. And do you know why I love Christmas so much? Because it's a tradition. Because everything about Christmas is wrapped in this beautiful thing called memory, which was started in tradition. So traditions lead to unified memories, and memories lead to more traditions. In this video, we're going to talk about traditions, why they're important, and then I'm going to share with you some of the Peck family's favorite Christmas traditions. Traditions are so important. They unite us together and they help us to create an identity. We learn more about who we are by recalling the memories from traditions from the past. People have traditions for all different aspects of their life, but holiday traditions like Christmas or Hanukkah or Easter or Halloween, whatever holiday your family likes best, those types of traditions are things that we always look back on with either fondness or horror. Now, this is not the traditions video where I'm going to talk about how to fix bad traditions. That's a different video. So be sure to look for more videos on this channel related to traditions because there are others. This is the video where I'm going to talk about how to create the magic around Christmas. Many people have traditions that they will never give up because they are things they have been doing their entire lives. But sometimes it is time to bring in a new tradition or to decide what traditions do we want this group to have. Sometimes bringing in a new thing is just what the group needs for their own unique identity with each other. Just like many people, I'm sure, Christmas is not a one-day event at the Peck House. In fact, it's a month-long event, and it starts on Thanksgiving. So in the US, we have our Thanksgiving Day, which happens in November. And after Thanksgiving dinner has been eaten and cleaned up, and the leftovers are stored, then we start our first Christmas tradition. That afternoon or evening, we make gingerbread houses. Now, it used to be that we always just made gingerbread houses, sometimes out of kits, sometimes out of graham crackers and candy and icing. And then we started switching to a game. So there are foods, there are locations, there are games that all come together to make good family traditions. Well, we now have a gingerbread house building game. So it's a game that we patterned after another game that we created years ago called Lego Add-On. In Lego Add-On, each person has about 5 minutes to start a Lego creation, something they've dreamed up in their head. And then when the timer goes off, they pass it to the next person on the table, or the table rotates, and then we don't know what the other person was starting to make, and we turn it into what we think they're starting to make or what we want to turn it into. And at the end of everyone touching everybody's Lego creation, we see what we end up with, and we see how that relates to what we thought we started with. It's a lot of fun. Well, we do the same thing with our gingerbread houses. We use graham crackers, royal icing, and any kind of weird candies or things that we can find. And we put them all together in the middle of the table, and then we do this rotation with the gingerbread houses. It's so much fun. There is on my Instagram page, there's a picture of the gingerbread houses that we recently did, so you can look and see what some of those creations looked like. We have so much fun. When I was a small child, my parents took me to a place called Christmas Street in Salt Lake City, Utah. I loved Christmas Street. I don't think that's the real name of the street, but at Christmas time, they put a big banner over the entire street and they call it Christmas Street. And these little old houses all decorate. Nothing ostentatious or too lavish. It's just simple, decoration of lights. As I went to this street, I was filled with magic. They had a big tree in the middle of the cul-de-sac at the back of the road. And so you would go down the road and you would see the lights on the people's houses and you would see this big tree and you felt like you were somehow in a Thomas Kincaid painting. It was beautiful. I was filled with the romance of Christmas and of magic. Then there was another street nearby that we drove through and people had big yard signs that told the biblical story of Jesus' birth and that first Christmas. And we would read the Luke 2 account as we drove through this other street in the same neighborhood. I know there are probably places everywhere that do this, but find some of those magical places. To this day, even as a woman who's a grandma now, I want to go to Christmas Street. I want to go and see light displays. I want to relive that beautiful memory and tradition from my childhood. Even if I'm nowhere near Christmas Street, I want to do something similar to it, just so that I can feel like a little child again. Christmas is a time where every adult gets to feel a little bit childlike. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, as the adults in the home start to act a little bit more childlike, start to get into that magic of Christmas, everyone comes alive and the children create even more vivid memories. When I had very young children, my mother-in-law gave me this binder. Thank you, Janice. Love her. May she rest in peace. Anyway, she gave me this binder called the 12 Days of Christmas Storybook. And she and some friends had put this storybook together and filled it with 12 Christmas stories. Now you can see the size of this binder. It has way more than 12 Christmas stories in it now. It has probably at least 35. So they said that what we should do, when she gave us this book, she said, what you should do is the 12 Days of Christmas. End the last story on Christmas Day. Start like on the 12th or the 13th and read one story a day to your children. I thought it sounded like a really fun idea, so I started doing it. It became a treasured Christmas tradition. My children still come to my house during the Christmas season expecting to hear one of these stories. Stories that make us cry, happy tears. Stories about Aaron's Christmas tree. Aaron and his brother Alma have a situation where they don't have a lot of money and dad has passed and they can't afford a Christmas tree. And Aaron's never had a memory of a Christmas tree and his brother tells him all about it and how you can't have Christmas without a Christmas tree. And then they decide that maybe it would be a good idea to just go out into their neighborhood and cut somebody's tree down. And they start doing that. And the neighbor comes out and finds them, and they end up having a pretty amazing experience. I'm not going to tell you what happens, but I will tell you that every time I read Aaron's Christmas Tree, I cry buckets of tears. Every time I read Golden Shoes for Christmas, I cry buckets of tears. Every time I read The Year of the Flexible Flyers or The Christmas Doll, I get emotional. Maybe that's why my children love it. They don't see mom cry a lot. I do get little tears on the inside, but I don't always let them out. But when I read these stories, I'm wiping them away and I can't hardly get through it. And maybe that's actually what made the memory. Crying with your children and laughing with your children. They all make beautiful memories. And just so you know, on my website, teachingselfgovernment.com, years ago, I did a post about Christmas stories, probably Christmas traditions, and I listed a lot of our favorite Christmas stories, and many of them you can find online for free. So go ahead and look those up. To mark the end of our 12 days of Christmas stories, which quite frankly, I have so many now, I just do one like the whole month for myself. But we have the end day, which we decided was going to be Christmas Eve Eve. So that's the 23rd of December. And on the 23rd of December, we have our beginning of the full Christmas extravaganza. We start by having a fondue picnic dinner around the Christmas tree. And while we're eating our fondue, Mom and Dad read Christmas stories. So if there were any out of the book that we didn't get to that we really wanted to, we read those. But then we read other Christmas stories like these, even some that are not Christmas stories. We for sure read 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. That's just a tradition. You've got to read that one, right? But we also read this book every year. It was the first book that my children ever got given to them when they were very tiny from their aunt, and she gave it to them at Christmas. And it is the book You Are Special by Max Lucado. It's not a Christmas story, but it is at the same time, because it's about our relationship with our Maker. And my children love hearing this story every year at Christmas time. So don't be afraid to make a Christmas tradition out of something that's not necessarily Christmas. After we read stories and we drink hot cocoa and we get really sleepy on Christmas Eve, then we sleep under the Christmas tree. Now, I have to say, I don't do that anymore, and all of my children are now adults and they don't sleep under the Christmas tree anymore, but all through the years of growing up, they slept under the Christmas tree, and there was a time when even Mom and Dad would sleep under the Christmas tree with the children. And I have such sweet pictures of my family all snuggled up, just sleeping underneath the tree. Things that we always look back to and think, remember that? Remember when we did that every December 23rd. Beautiful traditions that we all look forward to. So we have other traditions too. We love Advent calendars. I know many people use those as a tradition. We very rarely use the ones with chocolate. We've made lots of them, and we also like to find the most unique Advent calendars that we can find. And so oftentimes now I'm searching way ahead of time for those really cool Advent calendars that we haven't ever seen before. The Sunday before Christmas, we do something fun. We go to church and everything, but then in the evening, we go Christmas caroling as a family. We just pick random people, go to their house and Christmas carol. We might deliver a gift, we might not. Now I know for a lot of people that seems really old-fashioned and maybe even outside of their comfort zone. But we decided as a Peck family that we wanted to have the opportunity to share Christmas joy with people as we would sing Christmas carols. Plus, we just like singing as a family. Another tradition that we started as my children were a little bit older, but it's definitely stuck, is we have a neighborhood party at Christmas. Now, I know people are having so many parties and gatherings at Christmas that it could seem like, how could you fit one more in? But I always wanted to have a big neighborhood party in the summer, and we didn't always get around to it because we were busy going places. But at Christmas time, we always wanted to be home at our place. And so we decided that would be the perfect time to invite neighbors over. We decided that the best gift we could give them was having a little party with them. So we have a night where we make pots of soup and cinnamon rolls, and everybody comes over, just kind of an open house fashion whenever they want, and we just talk and gather for a certain period of time. It is so much fun to just have this casual time to really get to know your neighbors better. And our children looked forward to it too. So then there's the big one, Christmas Eve. That is our favorite day. In fact, if you've read my book, Parenting a House United, you know that our family vision actually revolves around Christmas Eve. That's a big deal for us. Even if our family at this stage doesn't always get together for Christmas Eve because they have to sometimes go to their in-laws, you know, I can't take them all the time, then we will plan a Christmas Eve for another time because our family loves it so much. So for Christmas Eve, we have our special Christmas dinner, the same dinner every time. Then after that, we do the nativity, we act it out. Doesn't matter the age of the people. Sometimes there's no children present, just adults, and we all still act out all of the parts. It makes it so much fun to have live actors. Then we sing some Christmas carols and we do a family talent show. The family talent show is something we all look forward to. Now it is true that sometimes people last minute on Christmas Eve are like, oh no, my talent, I forgot, what should I do? But they take that little time on Christmas Eve to prepare their talents. I think my grandparents were super inspired with this idea. They started a family talent show every Christmas Eve when I was growing up. And so on Christmas Eve, when my mom is preparing food, probably wrapping gifts and getting ready for the big family Christmas party at my grandparents' house, we were practicing our talents. We had something productive to work on. I think that was really smart. Thank you, Grandma and Grandpa, for that. They also brought another tradition into the mix, which was the first gift of Christmas happens with a game that we call our Christmas pie, or we call it Little Jack Horner. So there is a nursery rhyme called Little Jack Horner. It goes like this. Little Jack Horner sat in the corner eating his Christmas pie. He stuck in his thumb and pulled out a plum and said, "What a good boy am I." So my grandfather decided to make an enormous Christmas pie. And then he put gifts inside the pie, wrapped strings around them, and had the strings come out of little holes in the wrapping paper over this pie. So he put them in a wash tub because there were so many of us. We sometimes just use a really big bowl, but we put little gifts in there, and then we have a string. At the end of the string is somebody's name. We all gather around this bowl that's covered with a big piece of wrapping paper taped on with strings coming out, and we say that poem. We practice. Then we say it again, and when we get to the part where we say, "He pulled out a plum and said, 'What a good boy am I," we pull on our string and out comes our gift of Christmas. It's so much fun. Another thing we do to make Christmas Eve very special is we dedicate a certain part of the night to the Christ child. And we have a special stocking in our house that we put gifts to Jesus in. So we write little notes to Jesus or things that we commit to do to be a better person, or tell him something about, something that's happened to us and what we're grateful for that year or something, and we put it in that stocking. The stocking just gets fatter and fatter and fatter every year. No one ever looks in it. Those are just all of the gifts to Jesus. In order to make all of these traditions successful, you've got to have good relationships, right? So the way that you think of each other, communicate with each other, the way that you solve problems when you're together makes a big difference. So practice now always having calmness at Christmas, and I can help you with that. In fact, I have a calm parenting toolkit that I would like to give you for free. If you go to the description below this video, you will see a link to the Calm Parenting Toolkit. The link says teachselfgov.com/toolkit. So if you click on the link to that video now, you can have that full mini course all about calmness for free. It's not a full Teaching Self-Government Parenting course, but it's a great start. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.